What's going on, everyone? Welcome into a brand new hour of CBS Sports HQ. I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino. The NFL draft has come and gone after, a million mock drafts it felt like. And now it is time to sit back and assess what we saw out in Green Bay and give out some grades, because we love doing that here on HQ. Now, in the first round, we knew it was Cam Ward that was going to go #1 overall to the Tennessee Titans as their QB1. What we didn't necessarily see was the Jags trading up, being aggressive, getting Travis Hunter, the two-way player, with that #2 overall pick. A lot of mocks had Mason Graham going in that spot. Of course, the Jags sent a haul to Cleveland, and that's where Mason Graham went. And then, of course, Abdul Carter going to bring some pass rush help over to the Giants. And then the Patriots starting to protect Drake May, really trying to bolster that O-line to protect their quarterback of the future. All right, let's welcome in our guy, Pete Prisco, because, Pete, if there is anybody that can give out grades and go through every single team, it is you. We're not going to do every single team here, but we're going to go through the entire NFC and talk about their best picks and their worst picks and talk about the grades that you're going to give them. We are starting with the Giants, where their best pick is pretty obvious, Pete.
Yeah, it's Abdul Carter. I mean, look, they could have taken a quarterback in that spot, and they didn't. There were a lot of people pushing him to do that, but Abdul Carter is a dynamic edge player. And when the Giants have been really good, they've rushed the passer. So why not add another great pass rusher to the mix? As far as the worst pick, I don't love going back in to get Jackson Dart. I just don't think that's a move they had to make. It reeked of a panic move to me in terms of what you do at the quarterback position. I know Brian Daboll liked him. I didn't like him as much. So I did like the move to get Abdul Carter. I did not like the move to go back in and get Jackson Dart.
And what about the overall grading for the Giants? Where are you at on them?
Yeah, it's a solid class. I mean, they did a nice job. When you go, other than the Dart panic move, I mean, I thought they did a nice job. Scatterboo, Sun Devil, a little high for me, but I get why they did it. They wanted to get their Thunder and Lightning with Tracy, get a power back to go with Tyron Tracy. So I get what they did, but the reality is I didn't love the move to go get Dart.
And is it about a different quarterback that you maybe liked a little bit better? Or if that's you making that decision, Pete, would you go in a totally different direction?
I might have waited to take a guy, maybe McCord or somebody along those lines. I just don't think giving up or waited till next year. I mean, there's a good quarterback class next year. You look at all these mock drafts that are coming out for next year, and guys I really like are in this class next season. So I think you could have waited to get your quarterback, but I understand why the Giants did it.
Yeah, I was seeing Ryan Wilson's way too early 2026 mock draft talking about some guy named Arch Manning. So that's another name that's out there in terms of the quarterbacks for next year. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys, Pete. There's always a lot of pressure, whether it's the draft, getting to the postseason, and the NFC Championship, all the things for the Cowboys. If we start with the bad instead of the good, you have a problem with them not addressing the wide receiver need, correct?
Yeah, and again, you got to look at, you can't fix everything at once, but I think they need to balance the field. They need to get another weapon to go with CeeDee Lamb. He sees so much coverage, it makes it so much tougher on him. He's a great player, but that's a tough thing to deal with. And you look at this, where are the wide receivers? They didn't get any. So that concerns me. The good in this class, there's a lot of good. I think Ravel, the third-round corner from East Carolina, is a heck of a player. Tore his ACL last year. Probably would have been a high first-round pick had he not tore his ACL. And the Cowboys are always looking for that game changer on the corner. I think he can be that guy for him. I love Booker as a guard, probably a little high at number 12, but he's a really good player, gives them big physical offensive linemen. So I think their draft was really good in a lot of ways. I just think they should have just wide receiver at some point in that class.
All right, and their grade overall for you, Pete, was a B+. So as we make our way down the NFC East, let's see if the Commanders can maybe reach into the A territory. What was the best and worst pick for the Commanders, starting with the best?
Yeah, the best was Trey Amos. I think when you look at what they want to do, Mikey Sanders still played outside in their defense last year because he was forced to do so. But he's a nickel corner, can be a great nickel corner. So now you get Amos, you put him on the outside, and you can move Sanders still back on the inside. So I think that was really a good move for them to be able to solidify the back end. The one concern I had with their draft, and this is something that's being a little nitpicky, but I think when you give up draft picks, and they didn't have a lot of draft picks, to go get veterans in the short short term, that might work for you, and I'm okay with the move to go get Tunsil. Would they have gone to go get Tunsil if they knew they could draft Josh Connerly in the first round? That's a question that's out there. And then Deebo Samuel, what's he going to give you for the 1 year? So I think sometimes when you give up draft picks, they can come back and really bite you later on when you're not getting the young player that's a cheap player on your roster.
And the overall grade for you, for the Commanders, was a B. All right, let's round out the NFC East. We're talking about the Eagles, and it feels like Howie Roseman somehow always gets some sort of a steal in the draft. We've seen it in the last couple of years, and it all came to fruition with them winning a Super Bowl. Those picks certainly helped in that. But what about this year? What about for the Eagles stuck out to you on the good side and the bad side?
Yeah, and Howie Roseman does a great job. I mean, look, that's why the Eagles won the Super Bowl last year. That's why they were in it a couple years ago. They're just such a good team at drafting, and he did a great job this year. The second-round pick is a guy I really love, Makuba, the safety. I mean, when you look at him, if he was about 15 pounds heavier, everybody would be going, okay, he's a first-rounder. The concern with him is he throws his body around so much, and he's a tough physical kid, but at 186 pounds, will he hold up? Campbell was a nice pick at number 1. I mean, you look at him, he's a guy that, you know, steps in. They have injury issues with the Kobe Dean. They don't know when he'll be ready. They'll step him, plug him in, and play. That's what the Eagles do. They have spots. They're concerned about them. They address them. The one negative I have about this draft, they waited to draft an offensive lineman. And if you look at their history, they always draft young offensive linemen to bring in and develop and have them with a chance to play down the line. I think it's something they've done over the years. They didn't do that in this draft. And so I think that's something to be concerned about for the future.
Let's move along to the NFC South, and we're starting with the Panthers. They got some wide receiver help in the first round with Ted McMillan for Bryce Young. We knew that Bryce Young needed that. But when we're looking at what stuck out to you in terms of liking things and disliking things, we're looking at the third and the fourth rounds, Pete, for the Panthers.
Yeah, the fourth-round safety, I love him. Lathan Ransom, he's a guy who's on my better than team. I think if you watch Ohio State, they were loaded with talent, but the guy kept making plays all over the place. He's just a guy that wants to hit something. He'll seek it out, find it, and hit it. You know, he's not great in coverage, so they might have to use him a different way, but he is a big-time hitter. I like that pick. I did not like the pick of your former Florida Gator, Prince Umalemine. Did I get it right? It's something along those lines. It's a tough name to say. He's a guy that I didn't really like as much as they did in the third round. He's a guy that can rush the passer. He's got some edge juice to him, but he's not great against the run. I didn't love their draft, and I wanted to, but I looked at it, and, you know, Scorton's a guy when he was at Purdue, big-time player, didn't do much at Texas A&M last year. Etienne's an okay running back. I think there were better options there. Did not love their draft at all.
Etienne, another former Florida Gator that they're putting on the roster there. So, Pete, overall, what was the grade? I know you said you didn't love it, but where were you at on an overall grade for the Panthers?
What was it, a C plus I gave him, I think? Isn't that what I gave him? I don't have the grades right in front of me.
Yeah,
B minus. Yeah, it was a C plus, B minus. You know, I hedged on those a little bit when I did the grades because I thought I was going to give him a C plus, and then I went with a B minus because there were a couple of guys like Ranson who I really did like. And it's all going to come down to what McMillan does in the first round.
All right, so we were rounding up for the Panthers. Let's go to the Saints because they take quarterback Tyler Shuck, and that was the worst pick in your eyes. Does it have to do with how old he is and the age, or are there other concerns that are sticking out to you why that was the worst pick for the Saints?
Well, the age is a concern, but I mean, look, he's not that old. He's only going to be 26, but it's more than that. I mean, there are times he looks like he makes the best throws in the world, and there are times he makes the worst throws. I think consistency is a problem. And if you look at your history, you were at Oregon, you were at Texas Tech, then you were at Louisville. I mean, you bounce around. You didn't win the job at Oregon because Anthony Brown won it. He was supposed to be the heir apparent to Justin Herbert. It didn't work out. So there are concerns with Shuck. I didn't love that pick. That was the one that stood out to me. I love the third-round pick, Vernon Broughton. He's a guy I really came to like through the process. When I remember watching him last year during the season, and then when I saw him in the playoff game against Arizona State, number 45, he was just a big physical guy. You go back and watch his tape, and I think they stole him in the third round.
And the grade that you gave them, Pete, is a C, the first C that we're seeing so far. Let's talk about the Falcons because they were very bold on day one, and the best pick, in your opinion, goes to Jalen Walker, someone who somehow fell to them at number 15.
Yeah, and there were some teams that had some injury concerns on Walker, but I'll tell you what, if he plays to what I think he can play, he's a top 10 talent. I mean, he can do so many different things with him, and this is a team over the years that has traditionally had problems rushing the passer. You can line him up outside, you can play him as an off-the-ball linebacker. I think the versatility's there. I love this pick. I think the Falcons nailed it, and then when you come back to what the concern was, it might not be a concern if they hit it, and here's why. James Pierce is a top 10 talent. James Pierce had some off-the-field issues that dropped him down the board. And so when that happens, all of a sudden you say, wow, they traded away a first-round pick to go get James Pierce, next year's first round of the Rams. And you look at it and you say, well, that's risky. If he's the top 10 talent and stays clear of being an off-the-field issue, I'll tell you what, they have their bookend rushers for a long, long time.
And the grade there was a B-. Let's round out this division and talk about the Bucs because they take Emeka Egbuka in the first round. He's a fantastic player. That's not the argument, but not necessarily the direction you would go if you were the Bucs, right, Pete?
Yeah, and I was being nitpicky with them on this one because I had to find something I didn't like in this draft because I really love this draft. But taking the wide receiver in that spot, it looks like a future play. And there are reasons for it. Mike Evans, up in years, got 1 year left on his deal. Chris Godwin coming off a major injury. Jalen McMillan's only in his second year. So I get it, and I love Egbuka. I think he's going to be a star receiver. But you could have gone corner in the first round. But what they did is they came back and they went corner, which kind of offsets that. Benjamin Morrison, big-time player, can do a lot of different things. Some people thought he could go play safety. Jacob Parrish will be the nickel. Tyke Smith, they're going to move him from nickel to the safety spot. David Walker's a good power rusher. I love Tez Johnson. I don't know how he fell to when he did. I know he didn't run well at the combine, but boy, he plays fast. I think he's going to be another receiver that can give them a little juice in their passing game.
I know you said you had to find something that you didn't like, and this is a team that got an A, the first A that we're seeing. We'll see if we can get any others. Let's go to the NFC North. We're talking about the Bears, and it's been a long time since we've seen two tight ends go inside of the top 15. The Bears take Colston Loveland as tight end number 1 here. You love this pick. Tell us why.
Yeah, I do. If you look at Ben Johnson, what he wants to do in that offense, Cole Kmet, 1 tight end, and now you put Loveland in there. You know who Loveland becomes? He becomes Sam Laporta. In that offense, that's what he is. He's a pass-catching tight end. I know a lot of people thought Warren should be the guy to go in this spot. I always had Loveland here, and I always thought Loveland was the right pick because he fits what Ben Johnson wants to do, create mismatches. I love the pick of Colston Loveland at number 10.
And what about the worst pick for the Bears? What is that in your eyes, Pete?
Yeah, I didn't love the Luther Burden pick in round 2. Again, he's a guy that, timed okay, timed well, doesn't play to it. There were some questions about practice and whether he liked to practice much, and teams were turned off a little bit by that. So Luther Burden's the one to me that I didn't like among the group that they had up there in the top of the draft.
All right, let's go to the Packers because they added, 2 receivers in the first 3 picks. Which one of those lands in your best pick option for Green Bay?
Well, I actually like both of them. Okay. I really do. I think Matthew Golden's going to be a big player, but Savion Williams was their best pick. Picked in the 3rd round, and he was on my better than team as well. He's 6'4" and times under 4'5". He's close to 4'4" and can really go. He's raw. They used him a bunch of different ways last year. He lined him up in the backfield at times in the Wildcat. He lined up in the slot. He lined up out wide. I think he could do a ton of things. So he was the best part of their draft, along with Golden. I didn't like 2nd round pick Anthony Belton. I think he's got a lot of raw ability, probably didn't play to it all the time, but this is one where I have to put a little asterisk next to it because whenever the Packers draft an offensive lineman, and they did it with Zach Tom in the later rounds a couple years ago, they find ways to develop those guys that fit them into their system. So I don't love Belton, but I kind of get it for the Packers.
Okay, and the grade there for the Packers was a B. Now let's move on to the Vikings, who we know were limited with what they could do in those first 100 or so picks with the amount of picks that they had. But your issue, if we're starting with the worst, is just how they addressed the safety position, Pete.
Yeah, I thought they had an opportunity to grab a safety in this draft. You know, they lost Cam Bynum to free agency. Harrison Smith, the guy's been around for a long time. And they say they like some of their younger safeties, but I still would have addressed that earlier in the draft. I don't think that's something they couldn't just, not do, and they did. So that surprised me a little bit. Even if you wanted to get one later when you took the tight end from Pittsburgh or the linebacker from Penn State. Now, the linebacker from Penn State's a good player. My favorite pick was Ty Felton, the third rounder from Maryland. This is a guy that can flat out fly. Keenan McCardell, their wide receiver coach, one of the best in the business. I've known him for a long time. When they drafted another wide receiver out of Maryland, a couple years ago by the name of Stephon Diggs in the 4th round, everybody questioned that pick. This guy runs better than Diggs, and if Keenan McCardell can get the best out of him, he's got a chance to be a nice weapon to add to that offense.
All right, let's move on to the Lions, because this was another team whose draft as a whole you weren't necessarily raving about, Pete, but what were the issues with it? What was the worst pick?
Well, I didn't like the 2nd-round pick of Tyler Williams from Ohio State. Look, I get it. He's a good player, but I think they had other needs. I might have gone edge there. He plays a lot like Aleem McNeil, who they already have, and I know McNeil's coming off an injury, but again, too similar in my book. I didn't love that pick for them. I do like the pick of Tate Ratledge. I mean, the guard from Georgia is just everything and anything you want in an offensive lineman. Nasty, physical, tough, will knock you back. I think it's something they do on their offensive line. They came back and got another one in Miles Frazier. This is a team, they know who their identity is, and their identity is the offensive line. They lose Zeitler. Well, now you can get a couple guys who might go in there and replace them. So I like what they did in terms of their offensive line.
And the overall grade from UP was a C- for the Lions. Let's go to the NFC West. We're starting with the Niners because it's very clear that they're trying to rebuild that D-line around Bosa, some of which you liked and some of which you did not. So let's start with the worst pick in your book. What is that?
I love the fact that they're true to who they've been over the years. That their identity has always been a power defensive line who can rush the passer, and over the course of the last couple of years haven't been that. So what do? Get a bunch of young bodies and try and address that. I think Mikael Williams in the 1st round, nice pick. I didn't like Collins in the 2nd round. I thought there were better options there for them. Big player, I get it. It has some athletic ability, kind of does fit what they want. But C.J. West in the 4th round, that's a steal. If you watch him at Indiana, he's just a wide body who can hold up against a run, but more than that, he can push the pocket a little bit as well. So I do like what the 49ers did, getting back to who they are as a football team, be physical, tough on that defensive line.
All right, and the grade is a B. Let's talk about the Cardinals because they really addressed their defensive needs in the first 3 rounds. Pete, you're giving them a B+ grade as a whole. What did you love? What did you not love from the draft from the Cardinals?
And I'll be honest with you, this was close to being an A. I like their draft a lot. I thought 3rd-round pick Jordan Birch from Oregon is a guy. You go back. Harmon was a 1st-round pick. Caldwell was a 3rd-round pick. And this kid showed up on tape a lot. He was a #1 overall recruit in the country a couple years ago. Some people say he hadn't lived up to it. I think there's moments where you play him on the outside, he can really rush the passer. I liked him. That was the best part of it. I like Will Johnson as a player. He's got all the technique and the talent you love. The problem with Will Johnson is this. What is his 40 time and how healthy is he? There's a lot of concerns about his health, but more than that, he didn't run a 40. And there's some talk he ran 4.7, and that's a concern. But he is a good football player, makes a lot of plays, understands how to play the position. If he can live up to the expectations and the hope that they saw a year ago from him, then this draft will be an A.
So, yeah, the Cardinals, B+, almost an A, has the potential to turn that way. We have 2 more teams to get to, starting with the Seahawks here, who take Jalen Milroe, the quarterback, out of Bama, in the 3rd round. And you're shaking your head. That's not a pick that you were loving, Pete. Tell us why.
Yeah, I think he's a developmental project. You got Sam Darnold there, and then you bring him in to be a developmental project. I don't love that pick for them. I think when there were other options, not at the quarterback position, but there were other options for them at that spot, I would have passed on that one. Now, I know they're raving about him. Maybe they're going to put some packages in. We'll see. Arroyo, the tight end, is a guy that's interesting because they need to get more out of that position. I think he's one of those guys that can get down the field, separate, get some real big plays in the passing game. So I think Arroyo is a good pick for them as well.
All right, finally, the Rams, who didn't take a receiver until the 7th round. Pete, how much of that is a concern for you?
That's a big concern for me because, again, you look at their offense, and Devontae Adams gets in there, but, you know, he doesn't run that well. Nakua doesn't run that well. Kyron Williams, the running back, doesn't run that well. Now, they added the running back from Auburn, and he can fly. Jaquez Hunter, he can run. So that's an interesting pick for them to keep an eye on as well. But they didn't add guys that can run. They keep saying Tutu Atwell is going to be more of a factor in the offense. Well, he needs to be because they need to get some speed element into that offense. As far as the good, Josiah Stewart's one of my favorite players in this entire draft. I love him. He is so nasty and violent and tough and plays the game the way you want to see it. Played, if he was a little bit bigger, he would have gone maybe in the first round. Size concerns about him, but boy, the Rams know how to find good football players, good tough football players. They also, you know, traded to get a first-round pick next year, which kind of helps them as well. So I do like their draft. I just think the concern of the receiver spot is something to keep an eye on going forward.
Okay, and the overall grade for the Rams was a B. Pete, we certainly appreciated going through the entire NFC, the best picks, the worst picks. The only team to get an A in the NFC went to the Tampa Bay Bucks. We got you covered here on CBS Sports HQ, in season and the off season all year long. News, highlights, scores. It is all here, and it is all for free.